Hello, my friends. Welcome back. This is part two of our Christmas and Advent Power Couples. I'm Pastor Mark of Clinton Avenue Reformed Church, Bergenfield, New Jersey. I am thrilled that you have joined us. So, last week we talked about who were Mary's parents. Well, now we're going to talk about another relative of Mary's. You remember, of course, Mary. Mary is Jesus' mom. Mary gave birth to Jesus on Christmas. Well, Mary had an older cousin. Remember, last week we talked about Mary's parents, even though they lived up north, they were from the south of Israel, down in a place called Judea. Well, Mary had a cousin down there who was an older cousin. Her name was Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth was a very disappointed woman. She had never had children and she always wanted them, just like Mary's parents. Remember, we talked about that last week? Mary's parents waited a long time to have a child. Well, Elizabeth had waited so long, no child ever came, that she was now too old to even have a child. And her husband was named Zechariah. So Mary's cousin and her husband Zechariah, he was a priest in the big temple in Jerusalem. They were praying and praying and praying and praying and praying for a child, and none ever came. It's hard. It's hard when our plans don't come true and our hopes don't come true. And we always have to trust God. Either God will grant us what we'd like, or maybe what we really wanted wasn't such a good idea. And God's protecting us when he says no. But regardless, Zechariah was a priest in the temple of Jerusalem. And of course, he was doing all the things priests did back then. He was lighting an incense offering to God. And guess who talked to him? No, not God. An angel. A big angel talked to him. And Zechariah was a little freaked out. So, what would you do if you saw an angel? I'd be frightened. I would. It's not every day you see an angel. Well, maybe God makes angels into people to protect us and help us. Okay. But if I saw a big angel with wings, I'd be a little scared. Well, Zechariah, the temple priest, saw an angel, and the angel said, "You know what? Your prayers are answered. You're going to have a son. His name is going to be John, and he is going to be a great prophet in Israel." You know what Zechariah said? Zechariah said, "Come on. Really? My wife's way too old to have children. I I have trouble believing this." And the angel scolded Zechariah. He said, "You're a priest and you think God can't make a miracle? Seriously? No. Uh-uh. The miracle's happening. And because you didn't believe it, you're not going to be able to talk. You won't talk until this baby is born." Now, if you have little brothers and sisters, you know that takes about 9 months. That's most of a year. Zechariah couldn't talk for 9 whole months, most of a year. And he went back home, and sure enough, Elizabeth had a baby growing in her belly, and she was happy. Zechariah probably wasn't that happy, not being able to speak. And of course, all the neighbors are wondering why, what is going on. Now, when Elizabeth was 6 months pregnant, that's 6 months out of the 9 months, an angel went to talk to Mary, who was up in Nazareth. And the angel told Mary she was going to have a special baby also, baby Jesus. Now, she was a little confused by this. She was a much younger woman. And the angel told her that her older cousin Elizabeth was having a baby as well. She said, huh? This is strange. I've got to check this out. So Mary went down to visit her cousin Elizabeth. She went from the north of Israel down to the south of Israel to meet her cousin so they could talk about what in the world was going on because things were a little crazy. And here, this is the place where people say Mary and Elizabeth met. This is near the church of Elizabeth and the church of Zechariah down in southern Israel. This well is ancient. This well has been around since Elizabeth's time. And it is said that when Mary and Elizabeth first met, that Elizabeth was at this well and the two of them talked. As Mary said, Elizabeth, I've got to talk to you. An angel is saying, I'm going to have a baby, although I'm not married. And the angel told me that you're having a baby, even though you're kind of old. And Mary and Elizabeth talked about all the things that were going to happen. And there's a follow-up on this story. Elizabeth gave birth to John, who we call John the Baptist. And Zechariah was asked what the child was going to be named. Now remember, he couldn't speak, but the angel had told him to call him John. So Zechariah got out his pen and paper and he wrote his name as John. And when he did that, he got his speech back. And John the Baptist became a great prophet. And Jesus, when he was born and grew up, he worked with John for a while also. So our second Christmas Advent power couple is Zechariah and Elizabeth, that older couple who wound up having and caring for John the Baptist, and Elizabeth, who gave good advice and wisdom and comfort to Mary. So last week we talked about Mary's parents. This week we're talking about Mary's cousin and her husband. And this well, it is said, is the very place where the two of them met. Well, my friends, that's the end of this week's Bible story, Advent Christmas Power Couples. I thank you for watching. Please do me a favor. Like, share, copy, comment, whether you've seen this on Facebook or YouTube. I want more people to watch these very important stories and learn from them. May God bless you this week, and may God bless all your planning for Christmas.